Why would a human save me? What he said to the dying alien will shock you. The air smelled like burning insulation and regret. Leonard Grayson stepped over what used to be a hover scooter and now looked like the failed origami project of a god who'd given up halfway through. He adjusted the strap on his backpack, which had been duct-taped so many times it legally qualified as a patchwork quilt, and squinted through the fog rolling off the smoldering rubble. Yep, he muttered, definitely not on the tourist brochure. He poked through the wreckage of what had once been a vending kiosk. The screen blinked at him, displaying a cracked message. Error, chips not found. Same, thought Leonard, same. He pocketed a half-melted power cell anyway. Someone might trade for it. People out here would trade their own teeth for working batteries in a tube of minty paste. He'd seen it happen, still had nightmares about it. The city had been called New Carthage, which in hindsight was a red flag. Nothing named after a historically raised civilization ever ended well. Now it was more like mildly used Carthage. Half of the buildings leaned like they were trying to eavesdrop on the ground. The sky above buzzed with the faint shimmer of orbital dust, a reminder of the last big blast. Technically, the war was over. Practically everyone was still shooting. Leonard turned down a narrow corridor between two buildings, one of which seemed held up entirely by stubbornness, and froze. There was something slumped against the wall, not a someone, a something. No, wait, actually a someone, just not a human someone. The figure was tall, feminine in shape, with skin that shimmered like wet marble and hair that spilled like ink across the concrete. Her ears were long, gracefully curved like they'd been sculpted by an artist with a lot of feelings and no deadlines. She was armored in bits of cracked plating half fused to her body, and her left side was soaked in a blue fluid that glowed faintly. Not human blood, not human fashion sense either. She looked like a warrior from a civilization that held beauty contests during combat drills. Leonard crouched beside her, tapping her cheek gently. Hey, you're not dead, right? Please say you're not dead. I really don't want to carry a corpse today. Bad for the back. The woman stirred, eyes fluttering open. They were a fierce violet but dulled by pain. She blinked at him, then immediately reached for something under her chest plate. Leonard stepped back fast. Whoa, okay, listen, I am unarmed, unattractive, and I've got the upper body strength of a sponge. Let's all just lower the aggression levels. She coughed, muttered something in a musical but angry language, and tried to push herself up. Failed. Her body sagged against the wall again, shuddering. Yeah, that's not going to work. All right, we're doing this the awkward way. He hoisted her up with a grunt and an internal monologue full of apologies to his spine. She was lighter than she looked, but also somehow more solid, like gravity had a special arrangement with her. He slung her over his shoulder like an irate sack of alien potatoes and started back the way he came, feet crunching through glass and broken dreams. Just so we're clear, he said aloud to her semi-conscious form, this does not count as a date. His hideout wasn't far, just cleverly disguised beneath a collapsed parking garage. The code to open the entryway was a knock pattern based on an old Earth sitcom theme, something no warbot would ever guess. The door hissed open, revealing a space that was equal parts tech haven and rat nest if the rats were hoarders with a taste for circuit boards. He laid her on the one cot he owned, which was more metal slab than mattress. She didn't complain, probably unconscious again. Leonard grabbed his emergency medkit, mostly expired supplies, a bottle of whiskey and a Band-Aid with a cartoon platypus, and got to work. You're lucky I took that first aid course, he said as he carefully peeled back part of her armor. Sure, it was online and the instructor might have been a dog wearing glasses, but still. The wound was ugly, some kind of shrapnel embedded deep in her side. He sterilized the area as best he could, gritting his teeth as she hissed in pain. At least that meant she was still with him. Her body convulsed once, then stilled. Leonard paused, unsure if he'd helped or made things worse. Minutes passed, then slowly her eyes opened again, this time clearer, sharper. She stared at him. He stared back, the moment stretched. Then she spoke, voice raspy and laced with contempt. Why are you saving me? Leonard blinked. Oh, you're welcome, by the way, I also do birthday parties. She didn't smile, he hadn't expected her to. Still, the question hung in the air like smoke after a fire. Why are you saving me? She repeated with a tone that said she expected something like leverage or bounty. He sat back on his heels, rubbed the back of his neck. Honestly, I don't know yet. Maybe it's because you're the first living person I've seen in weeks who didn't immediately try to sell me bootleg ammo or eat my shoes. She looked unconvinced. Or maybe, he said, lowering his voice, it's because I think we've met before. Her expression didn't change, but her pupils dilated just a little. I know it doesn't make sense, he added, but I look at you and something in me just says don't let her die. A long silence. Finally she spoke again, softer now, you're an idiot. He grinned, yeah, but I'm your idiot for the next few days unless you'd rather crawl out and let a drone pick you off. Up to you. Her eyes drifted shut again, this time not from pain but from something heavier, trust maybe, or exhaustion, probably both. Leonard leaned back, exhaled, and glanced at the ceiling. Great, now I'm a rescuer of mystery space women with anger issues. My therapist would be so proud. He looked over at her again, at the twitch of her fingers, the rise and fall of her breathing. Don't die on me, he said softly. We haven't even gotten to the weird part yet. Kiara woke up with the vague sensation that someone had tried to perform surgery on her using kitchen utensils and sarcasm. The ceiling above her was a patchwork of rusted steel and ancient gum wrappers. Something buzzed nearby, a small drone with a wobbly flight path and what looked suspiciously like googly eyes stuck to its front. She sat up too quickly, immediately regretted it, and fell back down onto what appeared to be a mattress made of old space blankets, regret, and possibly raccoon fur. Leonard appeared from behind a curtain holding a steaming mug and wearing a shirt that said I void warranties. Well, hey sunshine, you made it through the night without vaporizing. That's progress. Kiara groaned, where am I? My humble abode, Casa de Weird. Welcome, try not to touch anything unless you enjoy mild electric shocks and deeply personal insults from my toaster. She blinked at him, processing his words as if translating a dead dialect. You live here. I thrive here, he corrected, offering the mug. Synthcaf, it tastes like despair but with a nutty aftershock. She took it, sniffed it, then sipped wearily, her face crumpled like she just licked the inside of a chemical plant. This is poison. Close, it's decaf. She swung her legs off the cot, swaying slightly. Her armor plates clinked as they shifted, the damage still evident. Leonard handed her a makeshift crutch made from an old broomstick and what looked like a laser rifle barrel. You fix my wounds, she said cautiously. I do what I can. Field medic training courtesy of one very educational bar fight and several regrettable internet videos. She looked him over, brow furrowing. Why were you doing this again? Already asked that, but all right. Reason number 1, I'm genetically predisposed to help injured space ladies. Reason number 2, I've been alone too long and talking to canned goods. And reason number 3, he paused, because something about you makes me feel like I'm supposed to. She narrowed her eyes, supposed to what? I don't know yet, haven't gotten that far in the hallucination. She stood wobbling slightly but remained upright. You're not military. Not anymore, logistics officer. Moved boxes, inventoried things, occasionally got yelled at for moving the wrong boxes. Now I mostly yell at myself. Why were you near the battlefields? He shrugged, looking for parts. The city's a gold mine if you don't mind the occasional plasma bolt or dismembered billboard of a toothpaste ad. She tilted her head, the motion cat-like. You are an enigma. Flattered, you're not bad yourself, so what's your story, long ears? Her expression soured, do not call me that. Okay, noted, no ear jokes. How about tall, blue, and battle-scarred? She didn't dignify that with a response. Instead, she limped past him to examine the room. Piles of tech components lined the walls, some blinking, some sparking, some making vaguely threatening clicking noises. In one corner, a robotic leg danced in place to music only it could hear. This is your home. For now, rent's cheap, neighbors are all dead, I make do. You are alone. Leonard opened a cabinet, a small plush llama fell out, not entirely. She ignored that, your people, you saved me, yet we are enemies. Well, technically we were enemies, but I think the ceasefire paperwork got lost when your people nuked our communications hub. Also, I'm not a big fan of us versus them, unless I'm choosing teams for dodgeball. She turned back to him, eyes sharp. You risked exposure, death. I do that every time I cook eggs around here. He leaned against the wall. But yes, I did. I saw someone in pain and helped. That's not treason. That's being inconveniently decent. She frowned. You're strange. Better than borings. She examined a nearby gadget which hissed at her. What is this? Ah, that's Mr. Hissy. Don't feed it. Long story. They settled into an uneasy silence. Leonard busied himself rewiring something that sparked with the energy of a tiny lightning storm. Kiara paced slowly, inspecting, thinking, occasionally glancing his way as if trying to solve a puzzle written in dry wit and second-hand socks. Eventually, she sat again heavily. My name is Kiara Thalith, Warrior Scout, Unit Designation Delta 12. Leonard looked up. Leonard Grayson. Earth, formerly United Front Logistics, currently unemployed scavenger, snack hoarder, and rescuer of grumpy aliens. Do not mistake gratitude for weakness. Wouldn't dream of it, you glare like a champion. Kiara hesitated. I was not meant to be here, my pod was hit, I ejected, woke in the ruins alone. Yeah, that checks out, your people don't usually stick around for cleanup. She stiffened, it was not abandonment, protocol dictated. I'm just saying it sucks, war sucks, the universe sucks, you're not alone in that. She regarded him for a long moment. You speak casually of suffering. It's either that or cry until my eyebrows fall off. I picked comedy, sue me. Her lips twitched, almost a smile, almost. I do not trust you. Leonard nodded, you shouldn't. I once traded a fusion coil for a chocolate bar, still not sure who got scammed. She leaned back, eyes half-lidded. I should leave, rejoin my fleet, reports. Well, I won't stop you, but you're not in any shape to walk, let alone space hike back to the mothership. Kiara said nothing, her fingers curled slightly, a gesture halfway between readiness and retreat. Leonard lowered his voice. Look, I don't know what the universe has planned, but I do know that something about you feels familiar. Not in the I've seen your mugshot way, but like deja vu that forgot to leave. She looked at him sharply, you dream. He blinked a what? You dream of me. I don't know, maybe I've had dreams, eyes like yours, a voice calling. She stared at him. Tithe children are tested for psychic echoes. Connection across species is forbidden, dangerous. Well, I'm a big fan of dangerous. He stood, dusted his hands. And forbidden, that's just another word for fun with paperwork. She gave him a look that could curdle milk. You're insane. He smiled, only on weekends. The power flickered, somewhere above, a blast echoed in the distance. Neither of them moved. We'll figure it out, he said, finally, together. Kiara didn't answer, but she didn't leave. Leonard found himself in the strange position of arguing with an alien warrior over breakfast etiquette. You can't just eat protein paste with your hands, he said, watching in mild horror as Kiara scooped a glob of greenish goop out of a packet and plopped it into her mouth like a cavewoman at a vending machine. Why not, she replied through a mouthful, it is food. It's barely food, it's more of a threat dressed as a meal, and we have spoons. They're like tiny shovels for civilized beings. She licked her fingers with the elegance of a jungle predator. Your utensils are flimsy, they bend. You use them to open a sealed ammo crate, of course they bent, they're not crowbars. Kiara shrugged, reached for another pouch and tore it open with her teeth. Leonard tried not to flinch. That same mouth had once muttered military-grade death threats at him. Now it was chewing something that smelled like regret and seaweed. So, he said, trying to steer the morning back into sanity, what's the plan for today? Do we sit around and bond over our mutual trauma, or shall we frolic into the ruins and get shot at by rival scavengers with poor aim and worse hygiene? She swallowed and glanced at him. I must find a beacon, contact my people, they will extract me. Right, rescue mission priority alpha. You sure they'll pick up your call? I mean, based on their last response to your near-death experience, they seem more like the will text back never type. She didn't respond immediately. Her eyes scanned the ceiling like she was imagining a ship breaking through and scooping her up. They will come. You say that like you've got a punch card with them. Survive 5 battles, get 1 extraction free. Kiara's jaw tightened. It is not your concern. Leonard raised his hands. Hey, just saying, if I'd been left for dead by my coworkers, I might reevaluate the whole loyalty situation. I am Thalith, she said firmly. Duty comes before comfort. And that's why you people need therapy, maybe some scented candles. She stood, testing her leg again. The limp was fading, but she still moved like she was bracing for the ground to betray her. Leonard followed her gaze to the far wall where a cracked monitor flickered to life, displaying an orbital map and local topography. I tapped into a broken recon drone yesterday, he said. The good news, I found a relay tower that's still partially active. Bad news, it's sitting in the middle of a crater filled with radioactive puddles and at least 2 scavenger gangs who think pants are optional. I will go there. I figured you'd say that. He tossed her a battered earpiece. At least let me guide you remotely. You wander into one of those feral gangs and they'll try to trade you for spare kidneys. I'm armed. Not as armed as they are. One of them's got a cannon grafted to his spine, not even metaphorically. Kiara considered the earpiece, then clipped it to her ear with an elegant motion. You will assist. I'll assist from right here with snacks and binoculars. Maybe a snarky comment or two. Her eyes narrowed. If I die, I will haunt you. Good, I've always wanted a sarcastic ghost roommate. They moved out under cover of what passed for morning. Gray haze, distant thunder, and the occasional low-flying bot making disgruntled whirring noises. Kiara moved like a specter, all silent steps and lethal grace. Leonard followed at a distance, one hand on a cracked remote and the other holding a sandwich that kept falling apart due to both gravity and poor construction. This would be easier if I could just call in a ride, he muttered. Would your people risk that for one soldier and a war criminal? I was thinking more like stealing one. She glanced back at him. Do you often steal military vehicles? I used to steal staplers, then the world ended, you adapt. They reached the ridge overlooking the crater. Kiara scanned the area with a focus that could cut steel. Down below, a metal tower leaned drunkenly, half swallowed by a collapsed building. Around it, makeshift shelters clustered like mold, and figures moved, armed, erratic, and mostly shirtless. They don't look friendly, Leonard said. One of them is wearing a traffic cone as a hat. That is a dominance display, Kiara muttered. A primitive. I always suspected hats were just angry symbols. She dropped into the crater before he could stop her. Leonard cursed under his breath and adjusted the zoom on his scope. Okay, ninja alien lady, I hope your murder reflexes are sharp today. Kiara darted through debris, silent and swift. A sentry spotted her briefly, then fell with a soft gurgle and an expression of sudden respect. Leonard flinched. Remind me not to get on her bad side, he said to his sandwich. She reached the base of the tower in under 5 minutes, bypassing traps and makeshift alarms with a confidence that suggested this was her version of a coffee run. Inside, she found the console, miraculously intact, and began typing with fingers that moved like dancing spiders. I am uploading a distress signal. Need to duck in cover now or later. Once they receive it, a response should take 30 standard minutes. You sure they'll come? I do not know, she admitted quietly. Leonard's brow furrowed, so why risk it? She paused because I have to believe I matter to someone. There was a moment of silence. Leonard exhaled slowly. Well, I care. She glanced up at the camera, surprised. You are a human scavenger with no allegiance. True, but I also make a mean stew and once hugged a bear. My credentials are flexible. Kiara's lips almost curved. The signal is away. We must hold this location until pickup. Leonard watched the gang begin to stir below. Great, holding, nothing like a good old suicidal stand against half-naked raiders. I will defend the perimeters. And I'll man the radio from under this very sturdy desk. As she took position behind a crumbling barricade, Leonard sat beside the console and glanced up at her through the feed. You're brave, you know, he said. She didn't turn. I am a warrior. No, he said softer, you're brave because you trusted me. A pause. I may be insane, she said. I'd prefer impulsively heroic. She rolled her eyes. Prepare yourself, they're coming. Leonard reached for his stun pistol and muttered, Remind me again why we didn't bring a tank. Because you traded the last one for chocolate. Right, a worth it. Leonard wasn't entirely sure if the incoming gang was made up of actual humans or malfunctioning holograms of post-apocalyptic fashion disasters. One wore a tire as a belt. Another had glued spoons to his face. And yet somehow the scariest one was barefoot and humming a lullaby in the key of vaguely homicidal. They're not even marching in formation, Leonard whispered from behind an overturned console. Is this an attack or an interpretive dance? Kiara didn't answer. She crouched beside a collapsed beam, calibrating her plasma bow with fingers that moved like a pianist preparing to duel. Her expression was unreadable. Stone-faced determination with just the tiniest dash of existential regret. They've seen us, she said flatly. Well, of course they've seen us. We're in a building. The building is on fire. You knocked out 3 of their sentries with 1 arrow and a mean glare. Subtlety's dead. Then we do not runs. We stand. Oh good, I was worried we'd do something smart. The first wave came screaming up the slope with all the tactical grace of toddlers hyped on sugar and vengeance. Leonard fired his stun pistol at the lead idiot, who crumpled with an oddly satisfied sigh. One down, probably dreams of being tased professionally. Kiara loosed 2 plasma shots in quick succession. They crackled through the air like angry fireflies and sent 2 more attackers tumbling into a scrap heap, with the kind of synchronized elegance that would have earned applause if not for the death. Leonard ducked behind a console as a piece of rebar flew past his ear and embedded itself into the wall. There's throwing furniture now. Improvised weapons, Kiara said, ducking and returning fire. Primitive, desperate. Tell that to the guy trying to beat me with a microwave. There was a sudden explosion to the left. One of the attackers had apparently misjudged the purpose of a volatile power cell and now existed in several different zip codes. Leonard peeked over the edge. Okay, so good news, they're clumsy. Bad news, one of them is carrying what might be half a tank. Kiara squinted. It is a hydraulic cannon mounted on a repurposed wheelbarrow. I feel both impressed and personally offended. The cannon fired. A bolt of superheated air carved through the ground and turned a support column into modern art. Leonard yelped and hit the deck. We need a plan, he shouted. Distract, flank, eliminate, Kiara replied, already moving. You say that like it's a recipe for soup. She disappeared around the rubble. Leonard sighed, counted to 3, and did the stupidest thing he could think of. He stood up and started yelling. Hey, yes, you with the spoon face. What's the plan after you kill us? Form a boy band, call yourselves the Dystopians. The raiders hesitated, not from fear, probably just confusion. One threw a rock. It bounced off Leonard's chest armor and hit him in the ego. That's just rude. Then Kiara struck from the side, her blade sweeping in a graceful arc that disarmed 2 of them and lightly discouraged a third from ever picking up a weapon again. Leonard followed with a stun burst that knocked down another attacker mid-jump, resulting in a dramatic belly flop into a pile of expired canned meat. After 5 more minutes of chaos, dust, and several war cries that sounded suspiciously like sneeze imitations, the attackers began to retreat. One of them shouted something about revenge and underwear taxes, but it was hard to tell if it was a real threat or just post-combat rambling. Leonard limped over to Kiara, brushing ash off his shoulder. So, we win. They are rooted for now. He offered a weak thumbs up. Excellent, nothing says bonding like joint trauma. Kiara looked at him, breathing steadily. You are injured. Only in places that don't matter, like my pride, and one of my kidneys. Maybe it's fine. She sat on a piece of rubble, plasma bow still humming faintly in her hands. This tower will hold. Leonard nodded, then sank beside her. I always dreamed of spending my weekend under siege with an emotionally distant alien. Life goals. She didn't respond immediately, then quietly, I did not expect this. What random humans saving your life? Breakfast paste, the connection. Leonard blinked. Oh, that, yes, that. He considered his words carefully. It's weird, right? I mean, I don't even like most people, or aliens, or myself before coffee. And yet here I am risking my neck for a warrior who could probably kill me with a spoon. You are not logicals. Thank you. I did not mean it as praise. I still choose to accept it that way. She studied him for a long moment. Her ears twitched just slightly, like they were eavesdropping on the silence between their words. When I asked why you saved me, she said, you gave no answer. I was being mysterious. You were being evasive. He leaned back against the console, staring at the cracked ceiling. Fine, you want the truth? I don't know, I saw you lying there, broken and beautiful and furious, and something inside me just screamed, don't let her die. It wasn't rational, it wasn't strategy, it was fate maybe, or instinct. Instinct does not forge bonds between enemies. Well, tell that to my subconscious. He's got terrible taste and even worse timing. They sat in silence for a while. Somewhere outside, the wind howled through broken towers, carrying the faint echo of someone yelling about lost boots. Kiara spoke again. In my people's beliefs there is a concept, Ramir Athel. Sounds spicy. It means the meeting of echoes. When two lives ripple through time and find each other again across war across stars, it is rare, it is not supposed to happen. And yet here we are. She nodded, here we are. Leonard gave a tired chuckle. Well, I hope your people are ready for disappointment because I am terrible at fate. I once missed my own birthday. She looked at him and this time the smile wasn't almost. It was there, small but undeniable. Then the console behind them beeped. Leonard scrambled to check it. Incoming transmission, coordinates, timestamp your people. Kiara stood, they are coming. He looked up at her uncertain, and you're going with them. It is my duty. He nodded slowly, right duty, always duty. She hesitated, will you be here when I return? Leonard smirked. Well, I'm not going anywhere unless a refrigerator falls on me, which statistically is not zero. She stepped closer, her voice low, then I will find you. He met her gaze, I'll hold you to that. The console beeped again, and above them the sky began to change. Leonard stood in the middle of the crater like a man who just remembered he left the stove on 3 solar systems away. The wind kicked up dust around his boots and tossed his hair like a half-hearted stylist. Above him, the sky bloomed open not with clouds, but with the shimmering signature of a Thalath extraction vessel descending through the atmosphere like a judgmental god arriving fashionably late. Of course it's triangular, Leonard muttered. Why can't aliens ever build anything with circles or even a friendly rectangle? The ship hovered, humming low like it was considering whether to land or vaporize everything nearby out of sheer spite. He turned toward Kiara, who stood like a statue carved from the battlefield itself. 1 foot forward, chin raised, posture just stiff enough to say I'm fine and just relaxed enough to say but not really. So, he said, hands in his pockets, this is the part where you dramatically leave without turning around, right? Kiara didn't smile, but her voice had the tiny curl of amusement he'd learned to recognize as her version of laughter. Only if you dramatically watch me go and then sigh like a character in an ancient drama. I'm more of a sitcom guy. The ship extended a platform, sleek, seamless, vaguely smug. 2 Thalath soldiers descended, clad in armor that looked like it could punch a hole through philosophy itself. One of them blinked at Leonard as if trying to identify which species of he might be. Kiara stepped forward, status wounded but stable, mission failed, survivor. The taller soldier frowned, you made contact with the human. Leonard raised a hand. Hi, I'm the human, Leonard. I do jokes, salvage, and surprisingly deep emotional honesty under duress. The shorter one sniffed, he smells like synthetic meat. I'm surrounded by people who smell like plasma fuel and disappointment, so let's not throw stones. Kiara moved between them before the exchange could get weirder. He saved my life, I would be dead without him. That does not change protocol, said the tall one. He is a human, he interfered in Thalath affairs. Leonard laughed, I wasn't interfering, I was, what's the word, improvising with a hint of desperation. You bonded with him, the taller soldier's voice was cold. That is not permitted. Yeah, Leonard said, about that, quick question. Who decides what's permitted when the galaxy's on fire? There was a silence, a long one. The kind that usually ends in someone getting arrested or promoted, depending on who's holding the clipboard. I will take responsibility, Kiara said, every consequence. Leonard blinked, wait what, no you don't have to. I choose to. He stepped closer. Kai, look, I get it. You've got duty, codes, traditions, but if they're going to punish you for surviving and feeling something, then maybe they're the ones that need a lecture. She stared at him, you would risk your safety for me again. He shrugged, well yeah, we're a team now. Like interstellar misfits or a very dysfunctional buddy cop show. Then come with me. The words hit him like a stunbolt, he blinked. Come with you on that ship with those charmers. You saved my life, changed my path. If I must face my people's judgment, I want you beside me. I didn't bring a toothbrush. I will provide ones. The 2 soldiers exchanged a look that could weld steel. That's not how it works, one of them growled. He is mine, Kai said. Leonard blinked, wow, okay, that was possessive and weirdly flattering. There was another pause, longer. Then the taller soldier finally nodded. He may board, but your choices will follow you. They always do, Leonard muttered. They ascended together. The ship swallowed them in sterile light in alien silence. Inside, everything smelled like metal and memory. Leonard tried to wave at a passing technician. The technician did not wave back, possibly because he was a hologram. As the ship lifted off, Leonard peered through a viewport. The crater shrank below, turning from battlefield to memory. He felt a tug faint, like the ache of something left behind. "You okay?" Kiara asked. "I'm about to fly into the heart of an alien empire with nothing but sarcasm and a half-eaten protein bar. So yeah, totally fine." "You are brave." He looked at her. "I'm just trying not to throw up." She stepped closer. "They will not understand us." "They don't have to, just you and me, that's enough." The days that followed blurred. Debriefings, examinations, dozens of Thalath officers asking variations of the same question. Why him? Kai answered with quiet defiance. Leonard answered with jokes. Sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. There were hearings, trials. At one point, someone tried to prove Leonard was a spy by showing his search history. That moment backfired spectacularly when it turned out half of it was recipes for alien stew and DIY bunker decor. But slowly things shifted. A general laughed once. An admiral asked Leonard about Terran music. A diplomat requested one of his terrible poems for research purposes. Kiara stood by him through every moment, her presence a quiet shield against the slow storm of judgment. And then one morning, Leonard woke up in a real bed, clean, quiet, comfortable. He sat up, blinked at the ceiling, and realized nobody was trying to kill him for once. Kara entered the room holding two mugs. "Of something steaming and suspicious, it is a ceremonial drink," she said. "It's not alive." Is it unclear? He took a sip. It tasted like ambition and mild regret. "So what now?" he asked. "We are assigned a new mission, Joint Command Exploration Unit. Border sectors wait, you and me in charge of anything they believe our bond makes us effective." He grinned. Guess Fates got a weird sense of humor. She didn't smile. But her eyes did. They boarded a new ship together, sleek, fast, unreasonably armed. As they took their seats side by side, Leonard glanced at her. "You know," he said, "when you first asked why I saved you, I didn't have a real answer, and now," he leaned back smirking, "now I'd say because the universe knew I needed someone exactly like you, dangerous, stubborn, and always stealing the last protein pack." She reached for his hand. "Warm, steady, real, then let us see where that answer lies," and the stars open. Before